just trying to make the best of it here with you in our happy little kingdom.
Yeah.
And you're perfectly fine with being out of the polygamy thing forever?
I'm so scared of it now, I don't even know how I would consider it.
Well, that's not an answer.
Everyone thinks Cody Brown is the narcissist. But what if he's not the real villain? What if the quiet, trembling wife beside him has been pulling every string from day one? In the decaying empire of sister wives, one can almost hear the hollow clang of a once grand patriarch's ego collapsing under its own weight. Cody Brown, the self-styled prophet of plural love, now clings desperately to the illusion of authority, pacing the ruins of his big family dream beside a woman whose tears flow only when cameras roll. The show, once marketed as a celebration of unconventional faith and unity, has devolved into an absurdist case study in control, denial, and the slow-motion unraveling of two narcissists who truly believe the world remains enthralled by their performance. It is not merely that Cody has fallen from grace. He has plunged face first into it. Once surrounded by wives competing for his attention, he now presides over a monarchy of one, with Robyn Brown as his trembling, mascara-streaked queen. Together they cling to the fiction of divine purpose, each episode an unintentional parody of partnership. Cody still preaches the virtues of plural marriage as if delivering scripture from a podium of delusion, while Robyn clutches her pearls at the prospect of him taking another wife, the same way an arsonist might gasp in horror at the sight of fire. Beneath the melodrama, however, there lies an unspoken truth. This pair needs the chaos to survive. The cameras may as well be intravenous lines feeding them relevance. Cody's midlife crises have become the show's central plot device, and Robyn's weaponized fragility its emotional backbone. He fantasizes about renewal, another wife, another storyline, another excuse to play victim. She trembles, manipulates, and reclaims the role of martyr, all while quietly ensuring the bank accounts remain under her control. Speculation that Cody already has a new wife lined up is not so much gossip as it is inevitability. He has always needed women to orbit him, to feed his need for validation under the guise of spiritual calling. His pattern is as old as the show itself. Preach divine inspiration, recruit new emotional labor, and when the shine fades, move on to the next supplier of flattery. The difference now is that Robyn has lost her sparkle. Once the shiny new toy, she has aged into a reflection of his own discontent. And he, ever the romantic opportunist, is sniffing around for someone younger, smoother, and less acquainted with his failures. The irony, of course, is delicious. Robyn, who once strutted into the Browns' lives as the model of pure intentions, may soon find herself on the receiving end of the very betrayal she helped orchestrate. When Cody justified his infatuation with her as divine providence, she cooed and wept and pretended to struggle with the honor of being chosen. Now, with her crown slipping, she may have to watch him recycle the same routine on another unsuspecting woman, perhaps one with fewer opinions and tighter finances. And one cannot overlook the symbolism of their new home, complete with a guest house conveniently tucked away on the property. Robyn may have believed it a charming feature. Cody, ever strategic in his stupidity, may have envisioned it as a ready-made honeymoon suite. If polygamy was once his religion, real estate is now his sacrament. What better setting for divine rebirth than a self-funded love nest with a camera-ready guest room? For years, Robyn sold herself as the pious newcomer, the woman who wanted to live the principle. What she truly wanted was a paycheck, a platform, and a legal status that would outlast everyone else's patience. She entered the family with 3 children, a mountain of debt, and a halo so polished it could reflect stage lights. It was not divine providence that led her to Cody. It was strategy. The Browns were already being filmed. The fame train had left the station. Robyn simply bought a ticket, climbed aboard, and promptly pushed the conductor off the caboose. Her ambition was never to be one wife among equals, but to become the wife, the legitimate spouse, the face of the franchise. She achieved it with textbook precision. Play the victim, cry on cue, flatter the patriarch, and undermine the others with a whisper wrapped in sisterly concern. Every tear she shed on camera was an audition for sympathy. Every, "I just want us to be a family," a line rehearsed for maximum effect. Her manipulation reached its peak when she secured legal status as Cody's only wife, a maneuver disguised as altruism toward Mary, but executed with Machiavellian efficiency. Once that contract was signed, she became the gatekeeper of the family's finances, emotions, and narrative. The others, Mary, Janelle, and Christine, were reduced to unpaid extras in her melodrama, kept around only as long as they served the storyline. When they left, she mourned the loss of plural unity with crocodile tears and trembling lips, all while quietly celebrating her monopoly. What binds Cody and Robyn is not love, but a shared dependency on illusion. He plays the misunderstood patriarch, she plays the misunderstood saint. He speaks of spiritual callings, she performs piety like a community theater ingenue. Yet beneath their synchronized victimhood lies a toxic dynamic of mutual blackmail. She holds the financial leash, and he holds the public narrative. Each protects the other's delusions, because exposure would destroy them both. Cody, for all his bravado, is the weaker of the two. Once he had the luxury of rotating affections, allowing his narcissism to be continually refueled by competition among wives. Now, confined to one partner, his ego starves. The adrenaline rush of conquest has been replaced by the monotony of accountability. And Robyn, having won the game, now faces the curse of victory, living exclusively with the man she once had to share. What was once thrilling is now suffocating. Observers note that her demeanor has shifted from the confident seductress of early seasons to the anxious, tight-lipped figure now perpetually on the verge of tears. This is not shyness, it's strategy. The shy wife routine allows her to disguise emotional withdrawal as delicate sensitivity, keeping Cody forever chasing her approval. Her distance feeds his desperation, and his desperation keeps her in control. It is the perfect symbiosis of dysfunction. He needs her validation to feel powerful. She needs his weakness to feel safe. Together, they've created a feedback loop of self-pity and passive aggression so dense it could power a small city. Labeling Cody as a narcissist gives him too much credit. He is not diabolical, merely vain, weak, and addicted to adoration. Robyn, however, operates on a different level. Her manipulation is deliberate, premeditated, and self-serving. She knows precisely which levers to pull: tears for sympathy, silence for control, and righteousness for reputation. Cody's moral decay is impulsive. Hers is calculated. Their relationship functions like a masterclass in emotional codependency. He abandoned 3 wives and half his children for her, and now he must live with the echoing void of that decision. The tragedy, or comedy, depending on one's perspective, is that Robyn no longer even bothers to hide her contempt. She treats him with the cool detachment of a woman who has already cashed her reward and is now simply enduring her prize. In public, she still frames herself as the victim of misunderstanding, the devoted believer trapped in a broken system. Yet her every action betrays the opposite. She isolates her children, controls Cody's access to his other offspring, and maintains a narrative in which she and her kids are the perpetual victims of the other's jealousy. The more the family fractures, the more she insists on her innocence, a psychological sleight of hand so practiced it borders on art. Cody still refers to his life with Robyn as our little kingdom, as though the desert mansion and its over-decorated guest house were Camelot rather than a gilded cage. In his mind, he is the beleaguered king, betrayed by ungrateful subjects. In reality, he is a dethroned autocrat pacing the walls of his own irrelevance. Their isolation is self-inflicted, their suffering performative. The other wives have moved on to lives of quiet authenticity. Christine radiant in freedom, Janelle grounded in dignity, Mary pursuing autonomy at last. Cody and Robyn, meanwhile, remain frozen in the roles they wrote for themselves, the martyr and her fool. Still, they cling to the spectacle, the promise of new drama, perhaps a new wife, perhaps another emotional breakdown disguised as spiritual revelation keeps the cameras rolling. They have become addicted to their own mythology. And even as it crumbles, they cannot look away. The irony is complete. A man who once preached eternal family unity has ended up with a single partner who cannot stand him, and a woman who schemed for power now finds herself imprisoned by it. Together, they have turned what was once marketed as a faith-based lifestyle into a televised cautionary tale about ego, greed, and the self-inflicted loneliness of those who mistake manipulation for love. In the grand theater of sister wives, Robyn Brown has always played her role with unsettling precision. She entered the stage not as a mere participant in Cody Brown's polygamous experiment, but as a woman rehearsed, prepared, and hungry for transformation. Her debut performance, all trembling sincerity and wide-eyed humility, masked an ambition as sharp as it was deliberate. This was no naive convert to plural marriage. This was a strategist disguised as a saint. Those early tears, which flowed as easily as her scripted declarations of sisterhood, were not symptoms of emotional overwhelm. They were tactical weapons, preemptive strikes designed to disarm anyone who might suspect her true intentions. While the other wives navigated the exhausting logistics of shared husbandhood, Robyn was already rewriting the rules of the game. Her goal was never harmony, it was hierarchy. And she achieved it with methodical efficiency. Within a few short years, the so-called spiritual wife became the legal one. The woman who had entered the family with debt and desperation walked out with property, production control, and the public narrative safely tucked under her arm. Her success was not accidental. It was engineered. Robyn's most consistent tool has always been her supposed fragility. The myth of her shyness has been polished and maintained with religious devotion, as though the world might collapse if anyone were to notice that her tears appear on command and her innocence vanishes the moment the cameras stop rolling. This performance of demureness is her favorite camouflage. It allows her to present every manipulative act as self-defense, every contradiction as confusion, every lie as a misunderstanding. When confronted, she feigns bewilderment, tilts her head just so, and delivers her line. "I don't remember that," with such practiced sincerity that even Cody seems convinced. In Robyn's universe, selective amnesia is not a flaw, it's a strategy. It keeps her untouchable, unaccountable, and forever positioned as the victim of others' cruelty. The other wives saw it, of course. Christine called it out, Janelle endured it, Mary was destroyed by it. But by the time anyone realized what was happening, the narrative had already been rewritten. Robyn's talent lies in her ability to control perception. She does not merely tell lies, she builds alternate realities. When she claims she never took wedding photos with Cody, despite photographic evidence to the contrary, she isn't simply lying. She's revising scripture. Her version of events must always preserve her innocence, even when the truth is documented on film. This pattern repeats throughout her tenure as Mrs. Brown. She weeps about the loss of family unity while ensuring no genuine reconciliation occurs. She laments that her children feel unwelcome, all while isolating them from their siblings. She preaches about wanting sisterhood even as she tightens her grip on the family's finances. Every contradiction is spun into virtue. Every manipulation becomes martyrdom. Her spiritual vocabulary is particularly useful here. When accused of wrongdoing, she hides behind divine will. God wanted this. It's not my place to judge. I just follow my heart. In Robyn's world, emotional cruelty is sanctified by faith, greed reframed as stewardship, and selfishness disguised as righteousness. While Cody postures as a patriarch, Robyn has quietly positioned herself as treasurer, executor, and final authority on all things monetary. The supposed equal partnership of the Brown household dissolved the moment she secured her legal marriage and the accompanying financial privileges. She didn't just win Cody's devotion, she won his checkbook. Every major decision that followed bore her signature influence. The new house, with its suspiciously convenient guest suite, the redistribution of family funds toward her property, the legal maneuvering that conveniently erased the other wives' financial stakes. Robyn's brand of piety always seems to end at the bank. Her control extends beyond money into image management. She has cultivated a persona of reluctant luxury, the woman who never wanted this lifestyle, yet somehow always benefits from its excesses. She laments the family's materialism even as her wardrobe expands. She claims to crave simplicity, but insists on opulence. It's an impressive balancing act, spiritual humility accessorized with high-end furnishings. Robyn's greatest triumph, however, lies in her mastery of emotional economics. She has made herself indispensable to Cody by convincing him that her unhappiness is his personal failure. Her tears are his to fix, her moods his to soothe, her approval his salvation. By maintaining a delicate balance of affection and withdrawal, she keeps him perpetually off balance, a man forever chasing the illusion of harmony that she alone can grant. This is not love. It is dependency disguised as devotion. Cody is not her partner but her captive, conditioned to read her expressions for cues on how to behave. His entire sense of masculinity now revolves around appeasing her, a fate both humiliating and poetic for a man who once treated 4 women as interchangeable support staff. Yet Robyn's power is also her prison. Having maneuvered herself into supreme control, she now lives in the suffocating stillness of her own creation. The constant drama that once justified her manipulations has vanished. There are no rivals left to defeat, no sister wives to undermine, no sympathetic audience to applaud her pain. She got what she wanted, and now she has no one left to perform for except a husband she no longer respects and a camera that never blinks. Perhaps the most unsettling aspect of Robyn's behavior is not its malice, but its method. She does not lash out impulsively, she calculates. When threatened, she doesn't explode, she cries. When cornered, she doesn't fight, she collapses. The effect is disarming, particularly on a man like Cody, who interprets female tears as proof of his own importance. Psychologists might call it narcissistic projection, but Sister Wives viewers recognize it as Robyn's signature move: accuse others of what she herself embodies. She condemns flirtation before marriage, yet admits to falling for Cody in church before even meeting his wives. She criticizes dishonesty, while maintaining a public facade so artificial it should come with a production credit. She speaks of wanting a community of women who share the same goals, but never once demonstrates the capacity for genuine sisterhood. Her empathy, like her faith, is selective. It exists only when it serves her purpose. When Janelle lost her son, Robyn's response was not comfort but avoidance, a moral indictment masquerading as shyness. When Mary sought reconciliation, Robyn offered sympathy on camera and silence off it. Her compassion is a performance, meticulously edited for broadcast. In a family built on hierarchy, Robyn discovered the ultimate currency: story control. The others may have had history, seniority, or affection, but she had the narrative. And in reality television, the one who controls the narrative controls everything. She and Cody operate now as a 2-person propaganda machine, spinning their isolation as divine design and their failures as moral victories. Every awkward silence, every tearful confession, every half-hearted prayer serves the same purpose: to maintain the illusion that they are misunderstood rather than exposed. The show's audience has long seen through the act, but the Browns themselves remain enthralled by their own mythology. To Cody, Robyn's devotion validates his authority. To Robyn, Cody's blindness validates her brilliance. Each sustains the other's delusion. Together, they have become caricatures of sincerity. Two people so invested in appearing virtuous that they can no longer distinguish manipulation from love. What makes Robyn's story so perversely fascinating is how completely she succeeded, and how miserable that success has made her. She achieved what every schemer dreams of: total control. Yet control offers no warmth, no joy, and no companionship. She rules an empty kingdom, guarded by resentment and gilded with anxiety. Her children, infantilized and isolated, reflect her own arrested development. They have been raised to see separation as betrayal and independence as danger. In protecting them from the world, she has trapped them in her own fears. Meanwhile, Cody plays the role of doting father, brushing hair and preaching unity while quietly resenting the woman who turned him into a caricature of domesticity.
The contrast between the earlier generation and the younger is damning. Logan Brown, at the same age Solomon is now, was a surrogate parent, disciplined, competent, and empathetic, a product of mothers who valued responsibility. Solomon, by contrast, is cocooned in overprotection, unable to function without supervision. The difference between these two boys is the difference between leadership and indulgence, between motherhood and martyrdom. For all her talk of faith and family, Robyn's greatest fear is exposure. She avoids reunions, resists transparency, and trembles at the prospect of accountability. A true family gathering would shatter her narrative. The financial discrepancies would be laid bare, the contradictions too numerous to contain. She knows that in a room full of the people she manipulated, her tears would finally lose their power. And so she hides, behind excuses, behind her children, behind the fragile fiction of being misunderstood. It is safer to play the victim than to face the truth, that she dismantled a family, rewrote its history, and now lives in the ruins, clutching her crown like a relic from a kingdom that never truly existed. Robyn Brown's story is not one of tragedy, but of poetic justice. She played the long game, and she won. The legal wife, the house, the status, the man. But the victory was hollow. The sister wives she outmaneuvered have found peace. She remains trapped in the cage she built herself. Her manipulations, once thrilling, have calcified into routine. Her control, once intoxicating, has become her burden. And Cody? He wanders through their shared delusion, mistaking her disdain for reverence and her silence for virtue. Together, they continue the performance, unaware that the audience has already left the theater. What began as a self-proclaimed vision of celestial family unity has withered into a one-man vanity project starring Cody Brown, the patriarch who mistook attention for affection and control for leadership. Once the enthusiastic salesman of plural love, Cody now wanders through the ashes of his own creation, clutching a half-empty bottle of testosterone and a lifetime of bad decisions. His decline has been as spectacular as it is inevitable. When the series first aired, he styled himself as the exuberant figurehead of modern polygamy, part rebel prophet, part suburban entrepreneur. He wanted to be adored not just by his wives, but by America itself. For a time, he succeeded. But ego, much like polygamy, requires maintenance. And when the admiration faded, the man behind the mane revealed himself, insecure, petulant, and incapable of introspection. The irony is cosmic. A man who once boasted of divine guidance now can't manage a single functional relationship. His marriages have dissolved. His children keep their distance, and the one woman who still lives with him seems to regard him as a mildly inconvenient roommate. Cody's supposed kingdom now consists of one house, one wife, and a dwindling sense of importance. Yet he continues to speak as though ruling an empire, referring to their life as our little kingdom, a phrase that would be tragic if it weren't so unintentionally comic. In truth, it is a small fortress of denial, guarded by self-pity and financed by reruns. He has spent so many years mistaking control for leadership that he can no longer distinguish between the two. He doesn't guide. He dictates. He doesn't nurture. He manages. His obsession with dominance once kept his wives in line. Now it keeps him isolated. The patriarch who wanted to be everything to everyone has become irrelevant to almost everyone, save for the one woman who benefits from his delusion. The tragedy of Kody Brown is not that he lost his family, but that he still doesn't understand why. He sees betrayal where there was exhaustion, disrespect where there was disappointment, and disloyalty where there was simple self-preservation. Every fracture in his mind was caused by someone else's failure to worship him properly. Kody's ego has always been the family's most expensive hobby. His need for adoration devoured every resource, emotional, financial, and spiritual, until there was nothing left to share. His wives were not partners but performers in the theater of his self-image. When they dared to stop applauding, he declared mutiny. What makes his downfall so exquisitely satisfying is its symmetry. The man who once required a rotating cast of women to validate him now sits confined to one audience member, and even she has stopped clapping. Robyn's affection has cooled, her patience eroded. The golden child of his own making no longer feeds his ego. She drains it. Deprived of his usual supply of admiration, Kody flails for meaning. Hence the wild speculation about new wives, new beginnings, new storylines. The suggestion that he might be grooming another woman for polygamy reeks not of desire, but of desperation. He doesn't want a wife. He wants a mirror. Someone new to reflect the illusion of relevance back at him. Even Kody's most candid confessions now sound like auditions for sympathy. When he told military trainers on special forces that he didn't know how to be a good husband or father, it was not an admission of guilt, but an attempt to script his redemption arc. The problem, of course, is that redemption requires change, and change requires humility. Both foreign concepts to a man whose hair has more volume than his self-awareness. Kody's masculinity has always been performative. He conflates authority with virility, leadership with testosterone, and loyalty with submission. His interactions with women outside his control, especially those who challenge him, expose his fragility. He cannot tolerate equality. It disrupts the myth of his own greatness. This is why he gravitated toward Robyn. She allowed him to maintain the illusion of dominance while quietly orchestrating every decision behind the scenes. She was his audience and his apologist, the perfect enabler for a man who mistakes compliance for respect. Now, even that illusion has thinned, and the patriarch has been reduced to a performer in a two-person farce. If there is justice in the Brown family saga, it lies with the children, the only characters who seem capable of growth. The older generation, raised by the original trio of wives, display resilience born of necessity. Logan, Maddie, and their siblings learned early that survival required competence. They cooked, babysat, mediated, and matured long before their time. Meanwhile, the younger set, Robyn's children, coddled and sheltered, exist in a state of extended infancy. What the older kids earned through responsibility, the younger have been denied through overprotection. Where Logan was forced to become an adult at 16, Solomon remains a pampered 12-year-old whose father still combs his hair before school. The contrast is striking. The Brown legacy once championed self-sufficiency as a virtue. Now it celebrates fragility as faith. Robyn's children are kept close, isolated from the broader family and shielded from any narrative that might challenge their mother's version of history. The result is a generation divided, one forged by hardship, the other frozen by fear. Kody, of course, interprets this as loyalty. He cannot see that his youngest children's dependence is not devotion but conditioning. They cling to him because they have been taught that the world outside their mother's orbit is dangerous. And so the patriarch mistakes captivity for love, confusing control with connection. the same delusion that destroyed his marriages now poisoning his relationship with his own offspring. Robyn's public grief over the family's fragmentation would be almost touching if it weren't so performative. She weeps for the loss of togetherness, yet recoils at every opportunity to rebuild it. Her refusal to participate in potential reunions or financial transparency exposes her true priority: maintaining control, not healing. A family reunion would undo her years of narrative management. Too many witnesses, too many conflicting truths. The other wives could confirm what viewers already suspect: that Robyn's financial and emotional manipulations were not side effects but strategy. Her fear of exposure masquerades as sorrow, her isolation as holiness. Cody, ever the willing fool, interprets her avoidance as fragility. He sees a delicate wife too hurt to face the others, when in reality, she's simply too calculating to risk confrontation. It's the perfect setup. She avoids accountability, while he doubles down on defending her. Thus, the cycle continues. Him playing martyr, her playing victim, and the truth buried beneath their combined self-pity. The self-styled spiritual leader who once preached eternal principles has now become a walking contradiction. Cody's faith has become indistinguishable from self-interest. He invokes divine will to justify his whims, cloaking manipulation in scripture and narcissism in revelation. His so-called patriarchal leadership has produced nothing but chaos. Wives in therapy, children in estrangement, and a fan base united only in disbelief. Even his on-screen body language betrays the truth. The forced bravado, the manic eye contact, the nervous energy of a man who cannot admit he has lost control. Cody Brown is not a villain in the Shakespearean sense. He is a tragic clown, undone not by fate, but by self-delusion. His tragedy is that he still believes he's the hero of the story. The cameras linger, the checks clear, and he continues to narrate his downfall as though it were divine destiny. In the aftermath of their implosion, the Brown family stands as a cautionary monument to unchecked ego and manipulative piety. The older wives, Christine, Janelle, and even the eternally conflicted Mary, have found a kind of peace in separation. Their independence, once condemned as rebellion, now reads as liberation. They no longer orbit Cody's gravitational pull. They have escaped it. Meanwhile, the patriarch and his queen remain trapped in the orbit of their own lies. They live surrounded by symbols of success: the house, the show, the dwindling fame, yet spiritually bankrupt. Their love, once sold as sacred, now functions as mutual blackmail. She has the finances, he has the narrative. Neither has affection. The Browns' downfall is not a story of failed polygamy, but of human vanity. The principle itself was irrelevant. What mattered was control, image, and the illusion of moral superiority. When those collapsed, so did the family. If there's poetic justice in the saga of Cody and Robyn Brown, it's that both got exactly what they wanted. He wanted exclusive devotion, and got it, along with the suffocating boredom that comes from having no one left to impress. She wanted control, and got it, along with the crushing responsibility of maintaining a fantasy she no longer believes in. The big family dream that once justified their self-righteousness now survives only as a reality TV artifact. The wives who were supposed to serve as moral cautionary tales have become symbols of freedom. The patriarch who claimed divine calling now resembles a man who can't even call his children without permission. And yet, the show goes on, because dysfunction sells. The Browns, for all their self-inflicted misery, remain fascinating not for their faith but for their folly. They are America's most televised cautionary tale, a study in how power, ego, and deceit can turn even the most sacred ideals into spectacle. Cody wanted a kingdom. Robyn wanted a crown. What they built instead was a mausoleum, a monument to their own delusion, preserved in high definition for anyone who ever mistook manipulation for love or control for faith. And inside that mausoleum,
The king and queen sit upon their crumbling thrones, forever rehearsing their lines, still convinced the audience hasn't noticed the curtain fell years ago. If you can see the tragedy beneath the glitter, you're one of us. Subscribe.